All right, now I'm taking you to Naenae College, and I'll introduce you to the principal of Naenae College, Chris Taylor, and then I'll admit a personal connection. Chris, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Kia ora, Michael. Thank you very much for having me.
Listen, I've got a personal connection with Naenae College. Were you a principal of the school 10 or 11 years ago?
No, mate. No, not at all. That would have been Mr. Russell. Probably John Russell would have been the principal then. I've only been in this job as the principal for the year, so I wouldn't have had the pleasure of having you at school, Michael, if that was the
No,
case.
It wasn't me. You had the pleasure of having my stepson, Noah.
Okay.
He was the student representative on the Board of Trustees.
Right, yeah, that would have been slightly before my time, so I've been there for 5 years now. So, yes.
So that's how I know Naenae College. You're a fascinating school because your racial composition is like United Nations. You've got 283 Pākehā. It's according to last year's school roll. 259 Maori, 230 Pacifica students, 119 Asians, about 66 Middle Eastern and other nationalities as well. It's a polyglot school, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got 67 nationalities currently on our roll. So yes, we are eclectic to say the least. So certainly for us, often the challenge is all of these ethnically diverse cultures and all of the norms that people bring into the spaces is how do we marry all that up together into one cohesive space? Yeah.
Now, you say you've been principal there. You've been at the school 5 or 6 years. I assume you were an AP before you got to be the top job. Is that right?
That's the one.
Yep, cool. Yep. So in your time there, so we'll go back that 5 or 6 years when you first arrived at Naenae College, were there a lot of kids, of that 800-odd kids, who were turning up at school without lunch?
Yes. Yeah. So my second year here was the first year we had the school lunches that came in. So the very first year there wasn't lunches, and then the second year they came in that time. And yeah, I mean, we've never obviously sat down and asked our kids specifically because that's not the kind of thing you want to ask families. But yeah, I would estimate that around an eighth of our school, roughly 100-odd kids, minimum, would be coming to school each day without food. From their lunch. They might have had a bit of money maybe given to them from mum and dad to potentially go to the dairy, but in most cases, no, they wouldn't have much food.
All right, okay. And so the free lunch program comes in. What's been the uptake of that? Is that you're having 100? How many kids would have been over this year and last year?
Yeah, we've got 850 students. We do 550 lunches a day. So the uptake has been really significant. And in the early days, it was a little bit problematic because we needed to work with the supplier to try to get the right type of food. But they were very good at working with us to kind of nail it into what our kids are going to enjoy and what they're going to eat. And I mean, now you can go into any form class or lunch space where we eat and, a good 80% of the kids are sitting down to a nutritious, healthy meal that they didn't have an option for before. Takes a lot of pressure off the community, from mums and dads not having to get up at, 6 a.m. in the morning to potentially make a lunch for their kids. Like as a parent, I always find that a really annoying thing that I have to do. Through to those who, this might be one of the few significantly healthy meals that they may get in a daily context.
It must be lunchtime now. Is it the bell in the background?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, the bell's going. They'll all be rushing out now to go and to get their lunches.
No, I don't have a problem with that. But the really interesting thing is demand. So you have roughly 100 people. I'm not being critical. I'm just making an observation. You have roughly 100 people I think are food deficient every day. And here we are. But now you've got over 5 times that number of people having lunch at the school. And I guess what you're saying to me is, well, a whole lot of people who didn't need lunch are now getting it as well.
Yes. Yep.
And that's a good economic decision from their parents, you would think.
Yes, yeah. I mean, if they're making the choice purely based on economics, and I guess you could argue that that's what David Seymour's doing, is making it purely based on economics, then there is an argument for we are now providing, extra lunches for people who didn't need to fund that lunch in the first place. But for me, the beauty of the school lunch program is so much wider than just the economic context that comes from whether or not you can afford to provide a lunch for your student or not.
Okay, well, take me past that, because I'm assuming there's a learning advantage, you would be saying, from people being fed and not being hungry and perhaps not being so aggressive about having to go and grab somebody else's lunch. I can understand that.
Yes.
But what other benefits are there?
So I guess, so there's the argued benefits. So we've found our pastoral incidences over lunchtime and the back end of lunchtime have significantly decreased because kids are being fed and they don't get so angry or hangry. Certainly from a learning context, teachers would argue that the students are much better prepared, for the classes. They're turning up in a lot better shape. From a social dynamic, one of the things that we've really been able to enjoy from this program is the context of what we call whakawhanaungatanga. So the idea that as little communities within a school, we ask our students to take a leadership role. They go down every day and they pick up the lunches from the canteen area. They then have a karakia. There is cultural space where they sit and they enjoy each other's company and they talk to each other and they talk to the teacher. So in that space, there's the social learning and the social dynamic.
So where are the lunches being delivered? Are they being delivered into the classroom? Are people eating in the classroom rather than in say, a big hall?
Yeah, because we have 850, we don't have a hall or a complex that's big enough to feed everybody. So they come into our canteen area. We employ, or rather the supplier employs 3 or 4 staff who, take the lunches, distribute them into, smaller containers for each form class. And then the students come down, pick that up, take it back to their classroom. They share kai in that, and then they bring those containers back down where they get cleaned and tidied up to be dropped back off again.
All right. Now, the government are budgeting, I think, $3 or $3.50 for every child, which I was saying to myself, gosh, I think I can do that quite easily, actually, as a parent myself. What's the problem with that? Because I would have thought that's a decent meal that I can provide for $3.50, and certainly if you just extrapolate it over a large number of people and you're providing meals, it should still be quite nutritious, yes?
I guess I would challenge that a little bit. I'm not sure that $3 walking down to the local pack and save, you could actually get a nutritious meal for $3.
Yeah, but that's because... okay, carry on.
But probably the biggest issue is the distribution of it. The behind the scenes to distribute a nationwide approach with a number of staff that's going to be required. Yes, the food itself, $3 would buy you, a couple of good sandwiches and a bread roll and a few bits and pieces. But when you add that extra layer of distribution, delivery around the country, I don't see how that can't be factored in. The company Compass, like any other company, is going to be looking to make a profit. In order for that to happen, where does that $3 get cut? Well, in my opinion, probably in the quality of the meals. Or
the other alternative is that the 400 kids that don't need lunch every day can actually make their own, though, can't they? The parents
sure.
can.
Yeah, they can. They can go to that space and be able to work in that area. And that's always a consideration for us. So as a school, we get to choose whether we opt in and out of this program. And opting out means, we don't have lunches, and it goes back onto the families to be able to make those choices. I would argue that with the cost of living and all of those things that are currently ongoing, that's another additional burden. It provides another barrier for education. Do they actually have the financial withal and the time to be able to prepare those meals? What probably happens in most cases is mum and dad might give them $5, $10, and say go down to the dairy on the way. Well, what are they picking up when they go past that dairy? Are they picking up nutritional food?
But that's not your job. That's not your job. It's not the government's. That's a basic parental responsibility, I would